Hello and welcome to the British Dapper, and today we're talking about pocket squares. Do they really matter? Now traditionally, gentlemen would wear a handkerchief in their top breast pocket, and this was for a number of reasons. One, for actual use, or to offer a lady, or if you go back way back in time, they were scented. So the streets of a metropolis or a town that didn't have proper sewerage facilities really did smell and reek of decayed vegetation, excrement and stuff like that. So it wasn't a very nice place to walk. And bearing in mind, there probably weren't any tarmac paths in those days. There were cobble streets or dirt roads. So the smells were quite, let's say, not the most pleasant. And so by having a handkerchief, you could hold a handkerchief to your nose as you walked around, or waft it in front of you, where it was heavily perfumed to take away the smell of the actual street where people were working or walking. And so therefore it became a very simple place and a very convenient place to put that pocket square over time. Originally it would have been stuffed down the shirt collar, and it's not uncommon to see in old video footage or films where you see people pull out of their sleeve their handkerchief and waft it in their face. But eventually, with the introduction of more traditional suits and looks, then it migrated to being stored in the pocket. And obviously over time, that white handkerchief was folded in such a way that we would have what's called the ambassador fold, or the square fold. And that was very subdued, very subtle, just a slight touch of white. And to this day, we still see that worn in very formal occasions and settings, and it's still a very good accessory and look to have for that particular level of formality. But if you want to relax a little bit more and bring down the level of formality, then maybe we're talking about changing that to, for example, a more peaked example, or maybe even more relaxed, a puffball example in the top pocket. But when it comes to the introduction of coloured and textured pocket squares, this is really where it comes into play in this modern age. Now, I know in the 50s and 60s, that period was very much more traditional, an ambassador fold handkerchief, something along those lines would be the typical example. But once we get into the 60s and 70s, we get to a period where brightly coloured pocket squares are being used to draw attention. And I think it's because from a fashion point of view, we had at that time of life, historically, we would have seen more vibrant colours being used, a lot of paisleys being around, and so therefore that transcribed into people wearing them in the pocket squares to draw attention and make it much more of a focal point for people's wear. Now, pocket squares can be used to enhance the colour of a tie, for example. It could be to enhance the jacket. In this case, I'm not wearing a tie, so this becomes much more of a focal point, and it does draw the eye. And it is a lovely way of adding a little bit of interest to an overall ensemble. But you can have this in a number of ways. You can actually have a puffball. You could have what I would call bunny ears, which is a reversed style. You can have what I call a stuff and go, which is very easily done. It's just stuck in the pocket and what you get is what you get, and you relaxed with it and you walk around, and it is much more of a casual look. And it's that nonchalance and the way that you style that does draw people's attention to the way you dress and the way that you're perceived. So I would suggest that whilst you can have these very rigid peaked, 5 peaks, 4 peaks examples where they are created almost as a work of art, and I think that doesn't really go very well because that is too contrived, that is too formal in its design, and that makes me think you're trying too hard. And I think a much more relaxed approach to this, and the way you wear a pocket square, is much more of an eye catcher. And whenever I see somebody with a contrived pocket square, it just smacks that they're trying too hard, and it does actually have a slightly off-putting effect on the overall look that I'm looking at, or my perception of it. So there are a few ideas there for you, but when it comes to are they really needed in this day and age, when I see somebody not wearing one, I see a missed opportunity. And I think that pocket square really does make a lot of difference. And if you look at somebody wearing a suit without the pocket square to wearing it, in contrast, you'll see what I mean. I do feel it is a really good opportunity to draw people's attention. The only thing I would suggest with that is if you're wearing a tie, then whilst the colours might match the colours in the tie, do not go for exactly the same pattern. It's just one of those things that it looks a little bit jarring, and I think you're trying to accentuate the tie and complement the tie with the pocket square. So therefore you want the same colours potentially, or one prominent colour that's in the tie as that complementary colour. But if you haven't two identical, it does again look like you're trying too hard, but also it's a little bit of a conflict for the eye, so you're drawn between the two items. So if it comes to the pocket square when you're wearing a tie, then it's in support of the tie. If you're not wearing a tie, then the pocket square is the statement piece, is the item that draws the attention. Just my opinion. And there may be many others out there that have different views on this. But it's worked for me for a lot of decades, and I've never had detrimental comments made, which is, I think, an indictment in its own right. Anyway, let me know what you think. And just before I go, I just want to mention about, we have a Patreon page now, and it gives opportunity for people that are like-minded to get together where we discuss items like this, and it gives people access to exclusive content. We have, depending on the level of your access, one-to-one tuition and coaching. We have also the opportunity to have question and answers on video links, and also behind the scenes unique footage about what I'm doing that week, the videos we do, and also the content that we're looking to introduce in the future. You'll also support the channel, and that helps us to grow and gain access to more content for you. And we have the forum itself. The group has its own WhatsApp group, which is unique to the club, and that allows you to interact with each other and have daily discussions about things more sartorial. And for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee, check out the Patreon page. I'll put the link below for that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, then please feel free to do so. We also love constructive comments, so if you'd like to make some, jot them down below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you've got a question you'd like to pose to us or you'd like an answer to, then why not jot it down? We'll try and answer your question for you. We also like ideas for future videos, so if you want to make a contribution and make a suggestion about future content, then please again jot it in the notes below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The next video could be something that you've recommended or suggested. So until next time, take care.